Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session. My name is Nicolas Georgault, and I'm French by origin, but I moved to Canada 9 years ago. I'm a consultant specializing in Microsoft 365, and especially knowledge management. I'm working for my own company, MuBrain. The Mu is for mutation and multiple. That's why I started the MuBrain Collective Intelligence Research Initiative 4 years ago, and the brain is for the intelligence. So the goal of this research group is to understand the evolution of knowledge management in heterogeneous environments where human and artificial intelligence must collaborate. How to process feedbacks that could come from systems with automated or semi-automated learning to reintegrate them into the human learning loop. Today, I would like to present my personal experience, but also my reflections on an event that I identify as major and which I believe will mark our history for many years in our professional life. I'm currently working with a private company in close contact with Quebec government institutions. I support the overall effort to implement Microsoft 365 for 1,400 users. And I'm particularly involved as a Microsoft team specialist. I just would like to, I want to make it clear that I limit myself here to the strictly personal sphere without neglecting the impact that a personal tragedy can have on our life in our companies. With each major event that occurs, we then have to choose to consider it as a disaster or as an opportunity. In Quebec, as in many other parts of the world, heavy government decisions had to be made. Decisions that we cannot fully assess yet are the impact on the operations of our businesses and our professional activities. But there has been an event that offers us a great opportunity to do things differently. We all know how changing the way we work and the way we see things can be extremely complicated when companies have been using the same processes for years. But all these processes that have been in place for several years often represent obstacles to the innovation capacity of your companies. Brakes on our ability to think differently, like outside the box. By 2020, many companies or professions have and will still have to implement changes that they're still considered impossible until the end of 2019. We all have in mind the case of remote work, of course, which has become the most logical and obvious choice to be put in place for many workers who are still waiting to be able to return to their office one day. One day they will return to their offices. That's a phrase we used to use before 2020. Rather, the question is, should we finally get back into an office? Or does our business really require an office? These are all the questions that have been needed since the beginning of this year. Questions that any startup company has to ask, but not the companies established for several years. Like many companies, I had been accompanying a client since last September to the deployment of Microsoft Teams. The choice was already obvious for this company, that putting in place a conversational tool, it was a no-brainer solution because they were already using a lot of different Microsoft solutions. But like any tool that's changed the information chain, its implementation was eminently political. This is not only true in a professional sphere, but when a way of doing things or a process needs to be questioned, there are often two important levers. The first one is keeping history, the legacy, and sometimes the weight of legacy, as we know with all the migration projects. And the second one is don't upset the hierarchical convention. We all know the weight of the hierarchy in all the different projects we are working on. And it is common for this lever to act against the challenge effort, often closing opportunities yet indispensable for reflection. For example, whether or not Microsoft Teams private conversation are activated, or whether or not private channels are used in Teams. At the beginning of the year, hierarchical conventions were put to the test for two specific reasons. The first one, the emergency. We all had to face this emergency, the reaction. And the second one is the lack of resources. Because as we just stop everything, every travel, all the different resources was, missing in some ways. So most of the resources was under pressure. So the sudden decision to stop travel to avoid rapid and unpriced rapid spread, and the lack of everything caused by the slowing down of these displacements in economies and professional environments, still too based on physical presence and abundance of resources, have placed most companies in a precarious situation for the least some time. Because the reaction was nevertheless relatively rapid, thanks to the support offered by most government, companies have been able to focus their efforts and imagination on being able to respond to the most urgent, which is deliver service to customer for doing with less resources without further delay. This is exactly what frugal innovation has been offering since now. We are not talking about doing better here, because the notion of better or less or worse is subjective, to say the least. But no, here we are just talking about doing, delivering, serving. What represents a major change here is that for a while yet, the customer, the user, since the beginning of the year, is also being projected into a profound questioning about its activities and the way it consumes them. Is it going to last? No one can predict that. That is where this represents a real opportunity. It is the type of approach that regularly allows emerging solutions, often in a niche, to get a great success, simply because they focused on the essentials, solve a problem, bring a solution. And here is just a very, I love this this slide. There's so differences between the culture way to think about problem solving. So here, this is a great representation about what different we can be about the way to manage the change. And I love for example, the way French are thinking about the problems, because at the end, you don't have only one problem, you got many problems to resolve. Anyway, that's funny. I love that slide. So what about Frugal? Frugal innovation provides way to do more and better with less. So there's a lot of example, a great example, a lot of companies that are just not decreasing their activity, but thinking differently. I give you an example. In the previous versions of Microsoft Office, we were all using the ribbon. This ribbon was full of shortcuts that we never used. And it was very, very complex to expose to the end user. So it was really it was a huge effort in a change management to explain correctly to the end users all the different shortcuts you don't need. And he wasn't able understand. He wasn't even able to understand why all these different shortcuts was available. So the point is using for example, the Office Online, actually using the Office Online, the current version of Office Online, you can see that using the different apps you've got on the mobile, or even using the web access, the system, the environment is way more simple than before. And you know, the best thing is with this version of this light version of Office, we can get things done even more easily. So the second thing is, you probably already heard about the Jugaad. Jugaad is an Indian word. There's no comparison with any American word. You know, there's some words, this kind of words sometimes don't have any translation. But what it means is it refers to a non-conventional innovation. And it's really, you know, finding a solution, a workaround. That's really the definition. Fix the problem. Innovate to fix this problem with a simple workaround. We don't care if it's beautiful, if it's secure, if it's, you know, this is not the main thing we are thinking about. We need to solve the problem first. So I will just give you an example here from my browser about a fridge. This is just a simple refrigeration system that have been invented by people in India. And this guy just started a new company, a fresh new company, and it is actually able to provide some conservation system for vegetables and fruits to everyone at lower price. So that's really this kind of idea where, you know, this is the thing we can learn from this situation to find more easy solution to implement. So Jugaad is about this idea, and it's really great. There's tons of great example about Jugaad. So if you never heard about Jugaad, I will give you at the end of this presentation a link to a great book I just discovered in 2012, I think. So this is not new, but this is something that Cuban people already knows. For example, South African people or people living in Africa already knows this concept because they don't have any resources, or they have to create from less resources. And the way, you know, the thing is, the abundance of resources we had in our society just make things more complex, more, you know, more difficult to innovate with. So I just use here an example. we all have to face migrations. And when it comes to work on a solution, on a solution migration project, you always have the same process. The first idea is that one. So you got a whole solution at the top, and you got a migration effort to go to the new solution. So you will have an unhappy customer at the beginning, because the customer always need that the IT, is not efficient enough, and the user is always thinking that they are using old solution. So they are usually basically unhappy, because if they were happy, we wouldn't even think about migrating the solution. But anyway, the first step is identifying the solution, plus migrate the data. The next step is customizing the user experience to make it close as possible to the previous solution, just to reduce the need of change management. And as you can see here, the part of the change management is really small in the process. So basically, we are moving in this migration effort from an unhappy customer to an unsatisfied customer, because at the end, you will get a new solution, but you will do your best to make it more to make it looks like the old one. So the new user, the user will get a new solution that looks like the old one, and it will not be able to do everything the solution can do because of the customization. And the result, the IT people will have something very difficult to manage and to support at the end. So the second option is getting this old solution to the new solution. So of course, at the very beginning, you got the same customer, an unhappy customer, an unhappy user. But at the end, you will get a curious customer. This customer will be interested in knowing more about the different opportunities of the new solution. And to do this, you will have to double or triple the change management effort. So you still got the need to identify the solution, of course. You still need to migrate the data, of course. You must find a way to migrate the data as best as possible. And at the end, the effort to manage the change is way more important in that situation. And the result at the end, of course, this customer will not be fully satisfied, but at the end, finally, a customer will never be fully satisfied, because this is the goal. You are using this as, in your marketing event to sell and promote the solution and to promote your different project or migration projects. So that's basically what the different levers we are using. I will give you another example. Let's talk about something really painful. The Microsoft 365 Message Center. We all know that we need to do something with the Message Center. And here is me when I think about the Message Center, the Microsoft 365 Message Center. There's so many things to do. So there's no real way to manage the Message Center, or before we didn't have anything to do that. The goal here is get things done. So the solution we've got, actually, I will just show you a new feature we have in Microsoft 365 is to use here. So from the Microsoft 365 environment, from the admin center, the message center you got here. And if you never looked at this, this is something really bad, because as an admin, you need to manage these different changes that are announced, because some of the changes can have a huge impact on users. So you would have to update maybe your documentation, your videos. Maybe you will use Stream to record a short video about how we can use the new meeting experience in Teams, for example. So that's basically the kind of thing you will have to do based on the different messages that will be delivered in the message center. But here, as you can see, the list is just awesome. And they are releasing new things, new updates pretty much every day. But the great news, we were waiting for something to plan, to sync these different tasks with a tool. And Planner is really a great way just to manage all these different tasks. So here you got a new feature that will let you sync all these different tasks coming from the message center with Planner. So here you will get a wizard, very simple wizard to use. And here you will define a sync. You will define what will be the different information I will sync. You can only create one plan at this time, but maybe they will just work on more features in the future based on your feedbacks. And here you can see that all categories are synced with the planners. As the result, from this wizard, the planner sync just create for me a Power Automate flow right here. So as you can see, you got here a Power Automate flow automatically built into your team flows in your Power Automate environment. So into the production environment, which is the default environment for your Microsoft 365, you got here this Power Automate flow, and you can even think about customizing this flow. But at this time, we are using only a connector, and we don't have any. We don't have a lot of options right here. But I'm pretty sure we will in the future. Based on that, as a result, you can easily here sync your task in your planner. So I just created here a dedicated planner for my team. And here I will be able to assign or, work and on the schedule of all these different tasks. So I will be able to get all the different tasks that are coming from the message center. I will be able to even create a new Power Automate just to send an email with an alert saying that there's something new coming into your planner. Here, you can just decide to assign automatically this task to someone, like a guy that will be in charge of, filtering the different tasks. And here you can organize your buckets in the way you want. So that will give you the opportunity to get things done very easily. So here, that will be a very simple thing to start, to implement. You can use it right into your Microsoft 365 environment now, and you can start playing with this task where you will be able to document, attach some notes, or comment to this task. You can really go in an advanced way to manage all these different tasks. So that's really very, very useful, and we were waiting for this. And just to let you know, of course, you got all the different charts coming from the out-of-the-box planner. And here you got the way to manage the schedule of your team. So using this, you will be able to decide and to plan all the different changes coming into your environment. So that's really something very, very valuable. Again, the goal right here is to get things done, just to move to the next one. And the quicker you will do that, the quicker you will get time to work on something more important. So I hope this content was interesting for you. And as I said, you know now that everything we did since the beginning of this year is finally based on this frugal idea, doing more or doing things with less resources, even people. So this is not perfect sometimes. Of course, you have to manage your quality. You have to ensure that the quality will still be there for your customer based on the different kind of services or product you're delivering to your customers. But sometimes simple solution can be used very, very quickly, like the one I showed you to be sure that you will manage the message center. So these are the different things you can learn from what happened since the beginning of this year. So I just want to tell you that if you want to jump into this content about Microsoft 365, there's something very interesting here. You can just jump into Learn, the aka.ms/learn website, where that's an HTTPS, sorry, yeah. So you will find a lot of great content just to prepare your certification if you are interested in this kind of thing. This certification is the fundamentals one, is quite simple. This is basically how you can just manage your Microsoft 365 environment. And from the learning platform, you will get a lot of different learning paths about pretty much everything. The most interesting at this time is the new content about the Power Platform and the new exam that are just coming into the certification path before the end of this year. So you also probably know that there's a great event coming. So you got a lot of online content that is coming with the Microsoft conference. Here you got some references about the Jugaad book. So you got here the reference if you are interested in understanding more about Jugaad and the idea about the Jugaad. So it's all about think frugal, be flexible, and all these different ideas. Frugal, for example, is something very important in Japan. Japan is the whole entire idea about Japanese most of the time is based on frugal, and Jugaad is something very, very well known in India. At the bottom of this reference page, you got a video from Navi Raju. This video is coming from a TED talk. This one is really great. That will give you more, information about how we can just stay in using less resources mode. So this is something that is very important because the more things will just come back to something like normal, we will still continue to use exactly the same amount of resources. But we need to change something on this. We need to change the way we are consuming. This is really very urgent. And not only for the next generation, which is really focusing on all these different problems about the environment, but we are consuming way too much things for sometimes basic things. So we have first to think frugal in order to make this more easy. There's here a lot of great videos, great meeting, details of information coming from the University of Cambridge. So this is a set of videos, short videos, coming from a lot of different kind of people, different kind of profile, talking about what we need to learn from this beginning of the year to survive to what will happen right after. So thank you for listening me to this session, and I will stay online if you got some question, and I will just jump into the questions right here. So there's a few questions right here. Yeah, of course. People working for non-profit also know Jugaad, of course, Michel. This is not limited to any kind of people, but Jugaad is something pretty new. Most of the people are more and more aware about this concept, but this is something pretty new for a lot of people. That's when it's better to do a pilot than a migration. That's a good point, Michel. The migration is not always the solution, of course. Is there a way to promote a task when it has all its nodes and ready to a site? What are you talking about here? About the message center task from Planner, or I'm not sure to understand. Promote a task when it has all its nodes and ready. So what I'm doing is I got a bucket dedicated for that. The last bucket I'm using is the ask for a production. So you will probably have to present this change to the cab, or if you got any cab to validate the change. So I got a specific bucket in my planner to do this. So at the end, it will depend on the bucket you will have here, and you are free to create your own bucket, of course, and customize all these different buckets. So it's up to you. That will help you just to manage the way the different tasks are assigned or treated by your consultant or your people, your team. So I don't know if that answered your question here. Another question from Michelle. Are there any certification for teams? Yes, you got the MS 700, which is the one about MS Teams. But this certification is the technical one. So this is the administration certification. So I don't know if you are looking for a certification for end users or certification for admin. But yes, you got something for admin. And this MS 700 just replaced the old MS 300 and 310, from what I remember. That was the old certification about SharePoint, OneDrive, and all these different Office server Office services. So the official, the right one actually is the MS 700, I think. Thank you for the demo. I won't share the scripting way to sync update with Planner. Okay, so Anonymous just share a link, and it's just an article coming from petri.com website, which is a great website if you don't know this site already. And yeah, this is you can find a lot of different information about the way to sync the planner. And I'm actually working on an article just to explain how you can just use Power Automate to go further and to create automatically assignment to people based on the kind of category or product the message is coming from. Yeah, so Michelle just add a comment about the message center. So yeah, the task is, so I would want to take the bucket and load it to a site. I think I'm not sure. I don't know if there a way to maybe using the API or maybe the graph just to connect to the planner task and export the task to a SharePoint list, for example. So using this, maybe you can just using the new Microsoft list feature. I don't know if you had a look to the new Microsoft list. You can just create a new list and you keep this list sync with maybe the planner using Power Automate and any graph connect or any graph connector or maybe I don't know. I never tried, but maybe using the planner connector. That would be my first idea here. And if there's no planner connector, could be interesting to just look at the Graph API or the different options you can get from the HTTP connector. So if there's no other question, I think I'm done with the questions. Okay, another comment from Michelle. Planner is missing integration to Microsoft Project. It also has no way to show dependencies. It can only be used for very simple scoped projects. Yes, that's the reason why I said I'm not sure about this, about the different connectors, but this is definitely something you should look after. Maybe using the Graph API. I don't even know. So thank you, Eamon. I don't know if you want to continue this Q&A.
I think that's great, Nicolas. Yeah, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. And if you have any other questions, you can leave them in the chat or add them to the meetup group, and we can follow up maybe with Nicolas after. But thanks so much for your presentation, Nicolas. We'll also have a recording, and I'll share it with Nicolas as well. Nicolas, you can post it on your social media channels, and we'll post it on our YouTube channel as well. And then I'll post all the links to everything on the meetup groups, and you guys can follow from there. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Have a great day.